Hey there, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Salesforce Epic Hours. So, we are here in Salesforce Development Series 2024. My name is Amit Singh, and I'm going to walk you through the concept of OOPS concept in Salesforce. So, as we are in the series of Salesforce Development with Epic Hours, so before we get started, a little bit about me. My name is Amit Singh. I have got overall 9+ years of experience in Salesforce and MuleSoft. And you might be knowing me with my another name that is SFDC Panther, where I'm posting the videos related to Salesforce. Recently have started my new channel, which is Panther School. So you can go ahead and check out the recent series that we are having there. And if you talk about my hobbies, I'm really loving exploring ancient India, reading the holy books. And if you want to follow me, connect me over the various social media channels, here are the QR codes that you can scan and you can connect with me. Now, let's talk about the real thing that we are going to learn today and what is the agenda. So, the agenda for today, we are going to talk about the basics of OOPS concept because whenever we start learning anything, it is really, really important for us to understand the OOPS concept. No matter which language do you learn, OOPS concept is the pillars of any programming language. Under the OOPS concept, these are the 6 things that we are going to see. So there could be some of you who might be knowing that in OOPS concept, we only include inheritance, encapsulation, abstraction, and polymorphism. But that's not true because OOPS is basically object-oriented programming. That means it basically everything is going to be around object and classes. So we also include these 2 parameters, these 2 concepts under OOPS as well. And then finally, we are going to talk about anatomy of class. Don't need to worry about that. We are going to cover each and every single concept in the coming videos. Today, we are just going to see the overview, and in the coming videos, we are going to see how actually you can implement these concepts in Salesforce. So, if we talk about what are the objects, if I ask you the question, what are the objects? So, what would be your answer? What do you think? What is an object according to you? So let me tell you, an object according to me is any real world entity that you can imagine, that you can see, or you can store the information anywhere. That is an object. So in a simple world, any real world entity is an object. For example, if I talk about this mobile phone, this is an object, and every object will have 2 things: states and behaviors. If we talk about states, states are nothing. These are the properties, the information about any object. For example, going back to this example of phone, this phone has the brand name, the manufacture date, what is the operating system, what is the storage, what is the display, and what are all its features, what is the color, right? So these are all the properties of a mobile phone. There could be more. I might have missed many properties. So this is one thing that is the states, the properties of an object. When we talk about states, states is what an object can do or what an object is capable of doing. So what an object is capable of doing is like, again, going back to our example of phone, that an object, that phone can make calls, that phone can help you to watch the videos, that phone can help you to do the video calls, connect with your families, your colleagues over the video call or normal calls, right? That phone can help you to go search around the internet, learn the new things. So that is all the behavior of a phone that it can do. Now, taking another example of, let's say, a pen. Pen also have some properties, the states. For example, if we talk about the name of the brand, the color of the pen, and either what is the type of pen, because there are different types of pen, right? And what is the behavior, what that pen does, the property, or I would say the behavior of pen is to write something. What color it is going to write, it depends on the property. But the behavior of a pen is to write. So that is what an object is. Anything that you see, that you imagine, that is an object. Even a software is also an object. Now, if you have a question, how, just talk about the states of a software and behavior of a software. You will immediately get, okay, this is an object. So just to give an overview, an object is a real world entity that will have two things, states and behaviors. States are nothing. States are the information about that object so that we can understand and know more about that object. And behavior is what an object can do, what an object is capable of doing. Now let's talk about examples with my favorite animals, dog and cat. So these are also, dog is an object, cat is also an object. Now these both falls under a category called animal. Animal is also an object, right? Now we are going to talk about later on these two parts. We'll come back and we'll talk about how the dog and cat becomes an object and how animal becomes a class. We'll talk about that when we are talking about anatomy of class. Now let's talk about focus on object. What could be the properties of a dog? The name of a dog, color of a dog, breed of a dog, who is the owner. These are some of the properties. And similarly, the similar properties are there for cat. Now, these are the properties. If you talk about the states, not states, if you talk about the behavior, what a dog can do, what a cat can do. So dog can speak, can run, sleep, eat. Similarly, the cat can also do that. Some of the activities might be different, like the speaking behavior of dog and cat are different. Dog does in a different way and cat does in a different way. But there are states and behavior. That means these are the objects. Now let's talk about classes. And as now we are talking about classes, we'll go back to the previous example. We will again talk about animal. But before that, what are the classes? So in a simple word, classes are nothing. Classes are the blueprint defined for creating the one or more objects in any programming language. How? Let me explain you with an example of this building. So this is a blueprint of a building or a building that is in construction. Okay. So what most of the builders, the famous builder does, they have a blueprint in their mind. They talk to their engineers. They ask them to develop a blueprint for a society or for a high rise or low rise building. And then they kind of replicate the same society at multiple locations of the same country, same state. So what basically they are doing is they have a blueprint, they have a class. Now they are generating multiple objects out of that class. They got one blueprint, they got one map, and then they're just printing out the multiple classes of that building of similar kind at various cities of a state or various states of a country. So that is why I say classes are nothing. Classes are the blueprints by which we can create one or more objects. Now coming back to the previous example that we were talking about, dog is an animal and cat is also an animal, right? If we talk about, there is some relationship that is happening, that is a like dog is a animal, is an animal, and cat is an animal, right? So this relationship is establishing. Now ultimately these are nothing, these are animals. So animal is a class, and under that animal there are multiple animals. It could be dog, cat, lion, elephant, tiger, any animal that will come under a class called animal. And with the help of that animal class, we are going to create multiple objects. Objects like dog, objects like rat, objects like cat, elephant, tiger, right? All these kind of things that comes under the class animal. So we will have one class defined with multiple properties. Now this is very early stage. If you have a question like, hey Amit, can you tell me how it is how it will look like to store the properties of every single animal in a single class, because some of the animal will have their own properties, some of the animal will have similar properties, like name is going to be similar, age is going to be similar, but what about the other, like speaking, running, or sleeping? And then there are some other properties in the animals like lion or elephant or dinosaurs. We'll talk about later then. If you have this question, pause this, park this question somewhere in your mind, and we will continue about this question in the coming videos. Once we are done with the concept of class, let's talk about the concept of inheritance. We talked about objects, we talked about classes. Now it's time to talk about inheritance. So what is inheritance in simple word? If you have studied it in your college or schooling days, you might already know what exactly inheritance is. Inheritance is like you are inheriting the properties, the states, or the behavior of your parent class. If we talk about Salesforce or Java or JavaScript, any other programming language, inheritance means a child class is inheriting the property of the parent class, or inheriting the states or behavior of the parent class. So basically, states are nothing. These are the properties, and behavior of behaviors are nothing. These are the methods. So this is something which is on Salesforce side. This is something which is in general. That's what I have. Okay. So again, now if we talk about inheritance in real world, you have your parents. Your parents have some properties. It could be good or bad. They might have a huge amount of money for you, okay, or they might have some sort of disease. I'm just giving an example, so don't think it is for you, okay. So you have your parent, they have good money, villas, a lot of money. You are living a really awesome life, and there is some person whose person are not financially very good, but he or she is still living. But there is some sort of some behavior, some property that you will inherit from your parent. Not everything. There could be a possibility that you inherit everything, but not everything. You can inherit some properties, you can inherit some behavior of your parents. If you talk about me, I exactly look like my father. So if you see me, you have seen my father. Okay. So inheritance is nothing. Inheriting the properties of your parent class and using it for your own. Like you have got a good amount of money, you'll definitely want to inherit from your parent, right? You have a luxury car, you have a villa. Let's say you are more rich and you have a personal jet, right? So you would definitely want to inherit that from your parent. Similarly, in the Apex class or in other programming languages, there is a concept of inheritance that you can inherit in your child class. What will be the concept? When will be the use case? We are going to talk about with an example in a separate class. Okay. So that's what it says. If I talk about the language which is there in the internet, inheritance is the concept used in the development of Apex class, where any new class can can be inheriting the properties, that means variables and method of its parent class. How a parent and child relationship will be established in Apex class, we will talk about that. You already know in the admin, you all are smart, I know. So you already know there is a lookup and master detail, but how to create that relationship here in Apex class, we will talk about in coming video. Now, this is the example that we have just talked about. You have parents, there are some properties, some behaviors, properties you can even consider like money and all those things. And then in these children, some of the behaviors are going to be inherited. Sometimes some diseases get inherited from the parent. to the child. It could be from mother or it could be from father. So the inheritance works in the real life. And believe me, if you start relating the oops concept with the real life, these are really easy and super simple. And that's what I'm doing here. Okay. So let's talk about abstraction and focus on the word which is within the moon brackets. That is what the object does. We are going to talk about one more phrase in the coming slide, but as of now, focus on this what the object does. That is what the abstraction is. So, abstraction means hiding every single thing and just letting to know the user or the object that what you can do. Basically, it's all about exposing or showcasing only the functionality and hiding the implementation. That is known as abstraction. Hiding every single thing. You don't know anything about how this mobile works behind the scene. All you know is if you go dial a number, hit that green button, pop the if it is a dual SIM, there would be two buttons which will pops up. You select whichever SIMs you want to make a call, and boom, the call starts, right? But you don't know what happens behind the scene. That is the this mobile, this TV remote. You click on that red button or green button to on and off. These are the perfect example of abstraction. You really don't know what is happening behind the scene, but what you know is what an object will do. What if I do this? This will happen. What if I do this? This will happen. You know that. And what you don't know is how this happens, right? That is what the abstraction is. Again, I'll repeat. Abstraction is basically showing the functionality and hiding the implementation. And this is mostly for the end users who are using the product. This is mostly for the end users who are using the products. And that is why we say what the object does. Okay. Now, coming to the polymorphism. Again, focus on the term which is written between moon brackets. That is one task, different way. So what is polymorphism? Polymorphism is basically doing one single task in a different way. Okay. For example, me as a trainer or as a educator, basically will tell you a concept in different way. There would be like my guru, Amit Chaudhary will tell you the concept in a different way. Then some other YouTuber or some other trainer or teacher will tell you the concept in a different way. We all are doing teaching, right? We all are trying to make you understand a simple concept, but the way of conveying a message is different. The way of maybe solving a problem is a different. Speaking, the way of speaking is a different, or walking, convincing a customer to buy some sort of product, buy a policy, or take a credit card, playing a football, delivering YouTube sessions. These are all the concepts or the examples of polymorphism. Polymorphism, that means one there is one task and the task is being done in a different way. The task is being done in a different way. For example, we have got an activity called sound, making a sound, right? Now there are three different objects. There are three different objects that we have. One is dog, one is cat, and one is duck, right? So dog, if you talk about making a sound, dog does bow, bow, cat does meow, and duck does quack, right? So basically, these are the same task. The sound is being done by three different objects like duck, dog, and cat, and the way of doing is different. And that is what called as polymorphism. And I'm not going to give you the example which Salesforce already have. We will talk about later on about these examples in the coming videos. So I hope the polymorphism is clear. Just to summarize this concept, polymorphism is basically nothing. It is like whenever one single task is being done in a different way, then it is known as polymorphism. You can give the example of speaking, delivering sessions, playing footballs, all those kind of things you can give as an example. Now, coming back to encapsulation, and here is what it says how the object does. Abstraction says what the object does, encapsulation says how the object does. So, you need to understand the key difference here between these two concepts, how the object does and what the object does. So, how the object does is mainly for the internal team, mainly for the internal developers who knows how actually the things happens, right? How actually the things happen. For example, the developer of a mobile or the software which is responsible for making a call behind the scene knows how exactly things happen. That is how he or she has coded. Now, if we talk about an internet definition, encapsulation is basically wrapping up the data, states means properties, behavior means method. So, wrapping up the data, states, methods into a single unit is known as encapsulation. If we talk about Salesforce, class is a perfect example of encapsulation because a class can have variables, a class can have methods, a class can refer another class. Basically, what we are doing is we are wrapping up every single information into a class. You can also say a managed package, unlocked package is also referring as a encapsulation because that managed package have some sort of data, some classes, some objects, some properties, behaviors, some sort of UI. So that managed package or unmanaged package is also an encapsulation. So these were the properties that we talked about in our OOPS concept: object, class, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, and then in the last we talked about encapsulation. Now let's talk about the last topic of the day, that is anatomy of class. We talked about, right? A class is basically nothing. A class is a blueprint that is responsible for creating one or more object. Now, how the class looks like, how we create the class, that is what we are going to see here next. So here is the syntax of your class, how you can define the classes in Salesforce, okay? Okay, so the first thing is the access modifier. I'm sure you have already talked, we have already talked about access modifiers in the previous videos. So you already know what are access modifiers. With and without sharing class, you don't need to worry about with and without sharing at this early stage. And then the name of your class, and then opening and closing curly braces. This is the one way of declaring a class. Another way of declaring a class is access modifier, make and tell if it is a virtual or abstract class, and then the name of class. We will talk about both kind of classes, except this with and without sharing keyword. We are not going to touch those. So let's quickly go ahead, log into your own Salesforce developer org and do the code with me. Okay, do the code with me. If you don't have your Salesforce developer org, please go ahead, sign up for a new org, and then try to start doing the concepts along with me. That's how you are going to learn. That's how you will be having more questions. And please don't forget to ask questions. Ask as many questions as you can. You can connect me over any social media platform. I love to connect over LinkedIn because that is where I'm active. So just connect, and we will basically talk about whatever the queries that you have. So if we talk about, this is a virtual class, this is an abstract class, how it works, what all it is, we are going to talk about later on. But before that, let's quickly jump into Salesforce org, and we are going to create our very first class. Okay, so we are here. I'm logged in into my sandbox where I'm going to do all these things. Okay, so the very first thing that you need to do is, so you don't need to worry about if you don't have a sandbox. I'm sure you don't have. So once you're logged in into your developer org, if you are kind of landing in this sort of page, or you are kind of landing in this sort of page, what you need to do is, you need to click on this gear icon and then click on developer console. What it will do is it will open the developer console to you, and this is the place where I am going to write my code. This is the place where I'm going to write my code. And I would recommend you to start from this place itself so that you can write it easily without any problem. Now, talking about how we can create our class, which is click on File, click on New, and here you will see multiple options. All you need to do is click on this Apex class. And this is where you need to give the name of your Apex class, whatever the name of your Apex class is. In our case, let's create Hello World. That is what we write as a first programming language, okay? So we'll say Hello World, and we're done, right? We're done here. So I'm not sure if you are able to see it. So what I will do is I will go ahead and increase the font size so that you can see it properly. To increase the font size, go to Help, then go to Preferences, and here is the font size. So I'm going to make it maybe somewhere around 24, and this looks good, or maybe 26. Awesome. If you want to change the theme, you can try it. There are multiple themes you will see like this or something. Like you just go and then click on Save. So once you have saved it, this is how your class going to looks like depending on the theme. Don't worry about much that theme. So what we talked about, it could be states, right? States, as we talked about, it's states or nothing. These are variables in any Apex class. Then we talk about behavior. Behavior or nothing, these are methods in your Apex class. Okay. Now, to save this Apex class, you have two options. Either you use the shortkeys Control S to save, or you go on this file and click on Save to save the file. If you don't save the file, your code will not be saved and you will not be able to test it. Now we are going to create another class so that we can do some sort of properties, define some properties, and define some behaviors. Okay. Let's click on File, New, Apex class, and I'm going to write the class name as Animal. Animal. This is the name of my class, and here we are going to define the properties like the name of our animal, the age of our animal, the skin color of our animal. These are the three properties we are going to define, and we are also going to define some behavior like speaking and walking. These are the two behaviors we are going to define. So how we define the behaviors, I'm sure this was already covered in the previous video. If not, let me tell you, you have to define access modifier, then data type. I'm sure this data type was covered in the previous video. Data type, and then the name of your class, not class, the name of your, what we say, state. And then either use a terminator statement, which is a semicolon, or there is a different way. You just use a assignment operator that is equal, and then use single quotes to assign a default value if you have a default value, and then use a terminator statement. So these are the two ways. You will see these two ways more frequently being used in your real world. So that's why I'm just trying to make you familiar. So what is the default access modifier for any variable or for any class? If I ask you, what will be your answer? Can anyone put into the comment section? What is the default access modifier for any variable or for any class in Salesforce? And if you are saying it is public, then you are absolutely wrong. It is private. The default access modifier is private. Okay. So if you want to use your properties outside of this class, then you have to make the property or a behavior as public. Okay. So we will say, let's say public string name. Then we will say public integer age. Then we will say public and okay, we've got name. We'll say color. Okay, it is going to be public string color. Okay, yeah. So these are the three properties that we have got here. Now, if you're wondering what are these string, integer, string, these are the data types. These are the data types of your variables. Now, how you define which data type you are going to use. So if you talk about name, how you're going to write the value in your name? What would be the type of the data? What kind of data you wanted to store there? That is ultimately going to be text format. And we use string to store text in Salesforce. If you talk about age, that is somewhere ultimately going to be number. So we use integer to store the full number. We use decimal or double to store the number which has decimal, which has fractions like 23.45. That is a decimal number. So that is how. I'm sure this was already covered in the previous videos. I'm not going deep there. Next, what is the syntax of writing a behavior or writing a method in Salesforce? So it is going to be access modifier. Then if the method is static, okay, and then return type, and then the name of your method. Then opening and closing moon brackets, and then curly braces. That's it. This is the simple syntax. Again, the same question. What is the default access modifier for a behavior, a method in Apex class? Put it into your comment section and I'll see who all are giving a correct answer. Don't worry about much these syntax. We have a complete reserved lecture for the methods, behavior. So don't worry about that. And to define a behavior, what you have to do is you have to say public void and say speak. Okay, this is a speak. And then we have got sleep or let's say walk. Like you can define as many as behavior that an animal can have. Don't define anything that animal cannot do. Like don't say swim. I think an animal can swim. Some of the animal, not everyone. Okay. So this is what we have got actually as a class where we have got states and behavior. Now, one last thing before we go, that is how to create an object using this class. How to create an object using this class. So just copy this class name, okay? Just copy this class name and go to your menu, say debug, and click on open execute in Omnis window. And here is where we are going to do most of the hands-on, do the testing, debugging, blah, blah, blah. We're going to do every single thing here. So how to create an object? Now again, before I actually create an object, I'm going to write a syntax for creating an object, and then I will ask you questions. So to create an object, what you need to do is take the name of your class and then give the name of your object, whatever you do. Let's say dog. And then use an assignment operator and then say use a keyword called new and then paste the name of your class again, opening and closing moon brackets and a terminator statement. Now, again, a question coming to you, you need to answer in the comment section. What is the explanation of this line? What is this animal? What is this dog? What this equal sign is? What the keyword new is? And what is the animal? If any one of you knows, Put down your answer into the comment. If you don't know, I'm here, don't worry. So the structure is something like this: class name, name of object, then it is basically equal is nothing, it is an assignment operator. How it works, I'll tell you. Don't worry, I'm here, and you all are smart, so you'll get it very soon. So class name, name of object, assignment operator, then new is a keyword which is used to assign the value for any object into the heap memory. So every variable, every method, every object will be stored in the heap memory. Okay, will be stored in the heap memory. So this new keyword is used to assign the space, to assign an Elmira, a box, a place for an object into the heap memory. And then this is, my friend, is the constructor. This after the new, whatever it is, animal closing and opening moon bracket, is an constructor. It is a constructor. It's not a class name. If you're confused, if you're confused, like this is both are class names, no, this is a constructor. Every class will have their own constructor by default. Every class will have their own constructor by default, and this is the constructor. To learn more about constructor, you'll see a link in the description or in the pinned comment. Please go and watch that video. And we will also cover constructor maybe in coming videos. So this is basically nothing. This is a object. Have you ever tried to print an object? Not, maybe not, because you are starting. Let me tell you, if you want to print the information about this object called dog, how you will print is you will use a class called system in Salesforce. There is a class system, and this class actually have a method called debug, and you can just put your variable here and you're done. That is how you are going to print any information on the backend, on the console. This print is not for displaying the information to user. This is for debugging purpose, because the method itself says debug and used by developers. This is not for the end users. This is not for the end users. Now you will see there is a small checkbox called open log. Just check the checkbox. It is going to open the log for you. Don't worry again much about that. And click on execute button. Your code will be executed if there are no errors, and this is how your logs looks like. You click on debug only, and you will see this is nothing. This is the object. This is your class name animal. Animal has these three properties, and these values, the property have a null value, and we're done. We're not talking about how to access these, how to print these. Don't worry about that. We will talk later on. Now, last question. I know I said this is the last thing, but actually I have this bad habit. Okay. So what is the default value? This is the question that we will talk in the next lecture, in the next class. What is a default value of any variable in Salesforce? If you know the answer, put it into the comment section right now. And if you don't know, go ahead, Google it. What is the default value of any variable in Salesforce? We will take this answer into the next class. And before you go ahead, please go ahead, put a post into the Twitter with the hashtag Salesforce Apex Hours. Tag us with the hashtag @Apex Hours. Visit our website, apexhours.com. You will see a lot of free trainings out there. Go to LinkedIn, follow our page, that is linkedin.com company Apex Hours, and don't forget to subscribe, press that bell icon, ping, so that you get every single new notification that you get from Apex Hours. So this is it. Me, Amit Singh, signing off from the very first video of OOPS concept in Salesforce. See you in the next video. Thank you.